Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. If you are, it's probably because you own a cleaning company right now and you want to zip some things up, make it a little bit less dependent on you, which I totally get that. Or you want to own a cleaning company in the future and you're looking for some things to avoid. Well, this is relevant for you no matter what stage you're in, because I actually didn't start implementing these things until literally 3 years in, because I didn't know how to run a company. I especially didn't know how to manage a team, and I didn't know what to do to make my life easier. At year 3, I made some critical changes that allowed me to turn that chaos machine, literally a chaos machine that I absolutely hated running, into a valuable asset that I was able to sell at year 5, which was this year. Actually, on March 31st, I closed the deal. I was actually liking the company at that point because I've created the systems that actually made it run without landing completely all on my shoulders. I like to be super transparent about my experience because I think that it makes us feel a lot less alone when we are also experiencing the same thing in our company. And I didn't have anybody that I could turn to that was being honest or transparent about the struggles that they were having in their business. So I'm going to lay it all out for you. What was horrible when I first started and within that 3-year period where I just literally didn't know what I was doing and everything was set up improperly, and what I did to fix it the last 2 years of my company before I sold. Number 1 is getting way too many questions throughout the day and feeling like you're on call 24/7. If you guys are growing your team, or if you're planning to grow your team and you haven't started yet, just be fully prepared that if you don't have the SOPs in place, the standard operating procedures, and also a place to host all of the information for every single client that you have, be prepared to have to look at your phone every 5 minutes, basically 24/7, because you're gonna get question after question after question, and it's gonna feel like you can't get into any other form of deep work other than literally being on call for your team. Let me be super clear. This was not my team's fault. This was completely my fault because, again, I had no idea what I was doing, but I made some changes, and these are the ones that I made that made the biggest difference. Number 1, again, having SOPs on literally everything. I'm talking everything. What is your standard operating procedure for every experience that a cleaner could potentially have? So these are some questions that I would get when I didn't have a standard operating procedure at first, and then realized 3 years in, took me a while, but realized 3 years in that I needed something that was a repeatable process for all of these different instances that cleaners would run into. So number 1, people would go into houses, and this is after I've trained them and everything, after they were all set to go by themselves, because at that time I would send solo cleaners out. They'd walk into the house and something would be different every single time. And by this I mean they would walk into a room, let's say they're walking into the master bedroom. Let's say 99% of the time the master bed is made before we ever arrive. But when this cleaner gets here on this particular clean, the bed isn't made. So there's no standard operating procedure about what to do in this scenario. So what do? They reach out to me to ask if they should remake the bed. Another standard operating procedure that I was missing is what to do when somebody was actually sitting in a room like a client. So sometimes we would make judgment calls that were absolutely the wrong ones. So we would make the judgment call, the cleaners on site, not me because I wouldn't be there. The cleaners on site would make the judgment call that because the clients were in that room, they just need to completely skip it, because they're respecting that client's space, and they also didn't want to waste time sitting there waiting for that client to get out of that room. After so many times of making the wrong judgment call on that, or asking me, and literally me making the wrong judgment call on that, we created standard operating procedures around it. So every time we ran into that scenario, we knew exactly what to do. I'm saying that you need to have a standard operating procedure, whatever the case may be, whether you go with, skipping it every time or not. There needs to be some sort of standard operating procedure in place so that the standard operating procedure doesn't default to calling you. Another thing that really helped with eliminating the calls to me was having the right information on Jobber. The CRM that we used was Jobber. Something that I need you to do is actually leverage your current CRM. So whether it's switching to the one that you like better, maybe you like Jobber better, you want to switch to it, or maybe you like the one that you have and it's just the case that you're not actually leveraging it to its full potential. You need to actually use it so that the cleaners don't, again, default to just asking you. They default to just asking you because all of the answers are in your brain, but all of the answers should be within those SOPs or actually within the CRM that you're currently using or that you'll use in the future. Okay, number 2 of making sure that my business didn't fully rely on me and was actually a valuable asset that I could sell. So obviously the number 1 thing that I cared about, if you guys have seen anything that I've posted, is our ethos, which was quality before everything. So in order to make sure that we have super high quality, it doesn't just mean that we clean the toilet really well. It means that if the client asks us to skip the toilet, we're skipping the toilet. Something that we did in that first 3 years, hardest 3 years of my life, professionally speaking, we would get those things wrong all the time. So the clients would ask us, this would happen on move outs all of the time. All the time. The clients would ask us, hey, I actually don't want you to do the refrigerator because we're replacing the refrigerator, right? Like, I don't want to pay for the fridge to get cleaned because we're literally getting a brand new one. Guess what we would accidentally do? We would accidentally clean the fridge, and then I wouldn't be able to charge for cleaning the fridge because the client literally asked us not to. How is that ethical? Or maybe we were on like a residential clean and they asked us to do the inside of the oven. We would just forget. And again, not saying that it's my cleaner's fault. It was actually mine because I didn't have the systems in place to set them up for success to make sure that they didn't forget anything. So something that we did for a long time is we would just have this like mile-long note on this special notes section of Jobber. So something that you can do, which is really cool, on the client portal, there's that little section. It's like a box. So on your phone, it looks like a little box and you can just scroll through and see all of the notes. So we would put obviously like entry instructions, where the pets were, all of the stuff that we need to know on there. And then we would have a special notes section. So for a while, that's literally the only place that we would host anything different that we'd be doing about that clean. The number of times that things would get missed was unfathomable. Like, I literally couldn't understand, why are these things getting missed? It's literally right there in the notes. But I didn't understand, like, while everything is happening on a clean, while we're training people, while we're quality control inspecting, while we're saying hi to the client, while we're petting the dog, like, all of those things will cause more human error than I expected it to, especially because the cleaners weren't the ones talking to the clients. So it was super easy to see this like mile-long note, kind of skim through it and miss some special notes. So instead of just keeping it in there, we also added it to the job form section. So if you guys have a different CRM, it's probably called something different, but essentially it's just a custom checklist for that client. That was so important and an actual game changer. Like, I can't tell you the number of times before we had those job forms, how many things we missed or how many things we got wrong or like did when we weren't supposed to. And then when we switched to the job forms, it almost completely vanished as an issue altogether. So anything that was like a special note or an add-on, specifically an add-on, we would also include it not only in the notes section, but also in the job form by literally having a custom checklist for that room that had the special note or the add-on, right? So we would have a template. So it wasn't hard to create a checklist that was custom for everybody because they were essentially all the same. But with the exception of having those little like add-ons or special notes included in the room where they were relevant. So if somebody was, let's say, cleaning a bathroom and maybe we're adding the blinds in that bathroom today, but we never ever touched the blinds. So we're gonna have that, we're adding the blinds note in the special notes section of Jobber, but we're also going to have in the bathroom, like let's just say it's the master bathroom. The master bathroom has a checklist of its own that is literally a job form created for that client. So like if I had a job form, it would say, Morgan Graphus's basic sanitary clean checklist, right? So it would have all of the rooms that were in my house, not just like a random template. It would say master bathroom, guest bathroom, 4 bedrooms. So it would have bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, bedroom 4. Each bedroom would have its own checklist. 2 mains, so main 1, main 2 is to have dining room and main living area, kitchen, pantry, and laundry room. Like, it would literally be built out for my house. So let's just say we were adding, sorry if you guys can see flies. I have my door open, so flies are flying everywhere. But let's just say in the bathroom, we were adding the blinds, okay? In the master bathroom checklist, oh my God. In the master bathroom checklist, we would have wet wiping blinds as literally a line item that said add on at the beginning in all caps. Again, this absolutely changed the game. It changed the game to make sure that we never ever missed anything ever again. Okay, and last but not least, the thing that made my business a valuable asset that I was able to pass on is making sure that my team actually knew how to do things, not only making sure that they didn't miss anything, so like let's say the blinds were on the master bathroom, making sure they did the blinds, but also making sure that they did the blinds up to our standard of quality that we've set. The first 3 years, again, this was an actual nightmare. Like, I would teach somebody how to do the blinds one time, and then I would hope that they'd be able to just replicate that over and over and over again for the rest of eternity up to that same standard. And let me just tell you, it didn't happen. It did not happen. I would have one cleaner who would be on my team for a while, maybe 3-4 months would go by, you know, between add-ons because people wouldn't ask for them very often. And when I taught them how to do it, they would do it one way, and then 3 months later when they had to do it again, it would look completely different and to meet completely different standards, meaning it just wasn't very good, right? It didn't look very good. Obviously, that's not great. So on top of all of the things that you need in terms of SOPs, to make sure there's an SOP on literally everything, and having that same information like somewhere where the cleaners can see and there's multiple layers to make sure they never miss anything. You also need to have a structure in place on your team to make sure that the quality control standards can be upheld on every single clean. So unfortunately, unlike other companies, we are not like one brick and mortar. We're not in one place. So I always like to compare us to a coffee shop. If we had 6 baristas throughout the day at a coffee shop, we could just have one manager on that shift and they would be able to cover all 6 baristas, right? They'd be able to train somebody if somebody was new. They'd be able to train somebody up if somebody was maybe making something incorrectly, or maybe they needed to do things that they weren't actually doing. The manager would be there to delegate and make sure it was done correctly, right? We can't actually just have one manager making sure that everything is delegated or done correctly, which usually is us, right? We think that it's us, but we actually physically can't be on every single clean. So we're hoping that we can do this remotely, but I promise, that's not it. That's not it. I tried for 3 years to just delegate and make sure quality control was upheld for 3 years. And I'm telling you, the number of times when that would go wrong. And just to clarify, just to make sure everybody knows that I don't think it was my team's fault, it was 110% mine because I had the structure of the company set up incorrectly. Now, if you are running your company in a different way than this and it's working for you, just keep doing what you're doing and ignore everything that I'm about to say in terms of the structure of your team. In my opinion, the best way to run your teams is with a 3-man team. So you're gonna have a trainer, a trainee, and a cleaner. A trainer is somebody who's able, again, that manager who's able to manage the team. They're managing behavior, they're managing quality control, they're training new people, they're training up current people. A trainee is obviously going to be the person receiving the training, and the cleaner is somebody who's out of training so they can help make sure that everything gets done correctly. And maybe they need training up here and there, but they're not somebody who needs to be, handheld the whole time. I can make a completely separate video on the structure of your team, which I will. But if you guys have any questions about that in the meantime, just put it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope this video is helpful. It is something that's really important to me, a topic that I could, again, just go on forever about because I had the worst 3 years of my life, professionally speaking, because I just didn't do any of these things. I thought they would just work themselves out, but really it was this strategy that I changed at year 3 that allowed me to sell my company. So I wanted to just share some of the things that were beneficial to me in that regard. And as you noticed in this video, I talked about Jobber multiple times. That was my preferred CRM. I used it forever. It was everything that I needed in my company and more. If you guys are looking for a new CRM, maybe you're looking to change because you don't have that like job form function or something, or you're looking for a CRM because you don't have one yet, there is a discount code for Jobber in the description below, so make sure to check that out. And otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, hope it was so helpful, and I'll see you in my next video.